Welcome to Live, Life Inspired Views for Every Day. My name is Chris Meyer, and I'm a curious soul. A couple of weeks ago, I went to Buena Vista University in Storm Lake, Iowa for graduation. At an awards ceremony, my friend and colleague, Jean Brawl, asked if I would like to meet Storm Lake's school superintendent sitting right behind us. I said, sure. I turned around to meet them, and I immediately went to shake hands with the man sitting there, who was not the superintendent, but rather her husband. I turned to shake the hand of the superintendent to the woman and said apologetically, "Oh, I'm so sorry. What a faux pas." I was thankful for her gracious, understanding spirit as we talked about the faulty assumptions that many have lived by for so many years. People, primarily from segments on either side of my age bracket, have default assumptions that higher kinds of positions in society usually go to men. That is how we were raised, unfortunately. But how many times do habits have to be interrupted before a new habit can finally replace a faulty one? The next week, I was telling our son Andrew about that embarrassing mistake and how I immediately admitted the faux pas. He responded, "Oh, good, you owned it." I really liked that he said that. Yes, I did own it. Making excuses lacks honesty and integrity. Just own it. Admit to the mistake and allow for good conversation about the lesson learned. I love the wisdom that John Wooden, a former coach of the UCLA basketball team, learned from his father. He said that his father raised him and his brothers on two sets of three. The first set was for dealing with life. Don't lie, don't cheat, and don't steal. Second was for dealing with adversity or making mistakes. Don't whine, don't complain or blame, and don't make excuses. When we make excuses, not owning up to our mistakes, we look small and lack integrity. We also feel bad, regretful often for a long time after, and ruminate on the mistake and feel like a fool. But when we bring it out in the open, owning it, everyone wins, and life feels good, and you live better. In a framed quote that sits on my bookshelf, Oliver Wendell Holmes was to have said, "A mind once expanded by a new idea never returns to its original dimensions." It basically says, if aware, we can change. Have you noted that I have mentioned the quote by John Wooden and this one by Oliver Wendell Holmes in past podcasts? If you look through my journals, which are full of quotes, you will find some of the quotes repeated many times throughout all 21 of my journals. I put them in there over and over when I come across them again because I need to be reminded of living them over and over until they become habits of mind or action. How do you remind yourself of the kind of virtues you want to live by? When you make mistakes, how do you set up ways to remind yourself to work hard not to default to that mistake? Or if you do, what is your plan to remedy it when you forget and it occurs again? When I was a school counselor, I worked with a school psychologist, Mark Shep, who used a lot of cognitive behavioral techniques with students. When a student was struggling with a focus or certain behaviors, he would have them wear a rubber band around their wrist, and when they caught themselves losing focus or repeating a behavior they were trying not to do, he told them to snap the rubber band on their wrist. The physical act and the mental act of remembering served as a reminder or reinforcement of what they should have been doing instead. Sometimes it is the feeling of embarrassment or regret that goes so deep or happens so often that we gradually are able to change our behavior. Like me, assuming the Storm Lake superintendent was a man, I am hoping that the frustration I felt by doing something I should have known not to do will be deep enough to make it hard to repeat it in the future. Thinking about it a lot while preparing my thoughts for this podcast and writing it down, then speaking about it to you will have given me three different layers to reinforce the correct behavior for the future. I'll keep you posted. That is a good thing to think about. When you want to change the way you think, respond, act, etc., start by thinking about it. Then write it down. Then tell it out loud to someone. Then, when you have a chance to do it right, share this victory right at that moment or later with someone. The celebration of that victory is another layer of reinforcement. So, what habit do you want to change? Write it down. Tell it to someone. Then, this week on your bathroom mirror, write, "When I do what I don't want to do, I'll keep owning it until it completely fades from my way of living." Join me next Monday for Live, Life Inspired Views for Every Day. I'm Chris Meyer, and I'm a curious soul.